You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All of our recruiting segments here on the Locked On Network are brought to you by LinkedIn. Go to linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Do you want to start good news or bad news there, Jay?
Give me both.
Give me both.
Now, kidding. Give me the good news. Let's talk good news first.
All right, good news here. So Cortez Mills was at Nebraska this past weekend. Was it last weekend or?
It was the Colorado game. It was 2 weekends ago.
Game. 2 weekends ago, was there with one Isaiah Mose, formerly of, or not formerly, but anyway, Lee Summit North.
Kansas City. Yeah, Lee Summit North in Kansas City.
All the Lee Summit North drama. Anyway, Cortez Mills was at Nebraska. There's a lot of concern that the 4-star wide receiver was potentially off the board now for Oklahoma, given Brent Venables' policy and regulation, whatever you want to call it, on committed prospects going on official visits. Well, he posted on social media, locked in with a picture from his visit with Oklahoma. So all things look to be good to go with Cortez Mills.
That's what it appears like, right? The 6'1" wide receiver, man. He's one of the top 100 players in the country, right? I think that's like 114 nationally. Rivals has him as 81st in the country. So he's beloved by the recruiting site. Heck, if I'm correct, 247 has him at number 98. And yeah, with the Brent Venables policy, it's not that they pull the scholarship away. It's more so they don't consider you committed and they begin to recruit around you, right? It's look, if you're going to commit because you are done with all your visits. You don't need to take others. And Mills decided to, test things out. And he said he wanted to do extra visits whenever he committed. He wanted to go a couple of places. He ended up at Nebraska, which was kind of shocking to me. And when he tweeted that out today, I was like, oh, okay. So he is locked in. He's good. Well, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to argue or even fight back. So it's a good thing for the Sooners that we got that locked up. I'm hoping that that's how it ends. He's a wide receiver that's needed. And especially with all of the injury situation we're dealing with at wide receiver, it's going to be good to be able to refill that room up with a lot of young talent that we can start getting some reps so that they can start preparing themselves over the next couple of years. So I'm satisfied. I mean, it's either or. I mean, I think Oklahoma has a few targets they're going to go after still just because of the whole scenario, and we'll see how it goes. But in the end, I do expect Cortez to end up signing up with the Sooners.
Yeah, to me, this feels kind of final at this point. I think it was very much up in the air, especially when he did go and visit Nebraska, and Nebraska had a great game against Colorado. I think it would not have been shocking to see him decide to flip his commitment to the Cornhuskers, go play with Dylan Raiola. I mean, that's going to be a really hot name that a lot of wide receivers are going to want to play with because he's junior Patrick Mahomes. But the fact that he posted that out on social media, didn't have to. It was not necessary. He was still technically committed to Oklahoma, but to put that out there to ease everybody's concerns and the fan base with the staff, and who knows, maybe the staff had never had any concerns because they had conversations about it beforehand. We don't know the conversations that went down between Cortez and Emmett Jones and Brent Venables and all that. It's not the first time that a player has asked to go on a visit with Venables. It's just the first one that did that and then also stayed committed. So it's going to be fascinating. So the one that didn't stay committed, Floyd Boucard, a Rivals 4-star defensive tackle out of Miami by way of Canada. He was with the Hurricanes this past weekend and he decommitted from the Oklahoma Sooners on Monday night.
Yeah, and rumor has it with a lot of the Miami people saying that he never showed up to the visit, but he was supposed to.
Okay.
So there's a lot of conflicting stories behind it, and so I'm not even sure which one it is. But he did decommit. He did decide that he's going to open up his recruiting again. I mean, there's a chance that Oklahoma could, go back on the pursuit with him, or Oklahoma could start looking at some other players. I've heard rumors about some other top defensive tackles that have a relationship with Todd Bates that has had some consideration with Oklahoma. But I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to actually go down. But I'll say this. I was really excited about the Floyd Boucard piece. He's very athletic for his size. Like he's not a little dude, right? He comes in at almost 6'3", 315 as a senior. And
Yeah.
again, being from, Canada, playing football for 2-3 years, extremely raw talent. He's one of those that you can bring in, adding him with a Trent Wilson as well as a Kamari Moore. They could do some damage, but in the way that this is looking right now, he's probably. I'm wondering what is enticing him. Is it someone has a nicer NIL package? Because if anything, the Miami piece was one that I thought was definitely a problem because he's at Miami Central. That's technically considered a feeder school for the Canes, but overall, he decided not to make the visit, possibly, and he wanted to come to Oklahoma because of Bates and the staff. He came on to my channel and actually did an interview and told us about the family environment and everything, and that's why he picked Oklahoma. Everybody else. So now I'm just like, okay, was he feeding me wolf tickets or what was this? Like, what changed his mind, or did him and the staff decide that they need to let him go ahead and just do some shopping around? But I think it's a big loss because I thought it was a very good piece, especially in the raw talent side, because you never know what he's going to turn out to be. But now Bates and him's got to get back to work and find themselves another 315-pounder to come in next season.
Well, and who knows, you see what Jayden Jackson's doing as a true freshman, and you're like, oh, well, that dude's going to be starting at nose tackle for the next 3 years, at least,
right.
Maybe 4, including this year. So maybe my path to playing time is not so clear as the nose tackle. And you got a Kamari Moore, who I'm sorry, that dude is much better than a 3-star it gets credit for. So maybe I can't say this, I can't speak to this, but the fact that Jayden Jackson is starting already for the Oklahoma Sooners, I think the writing there is on the wall that if you're a nose tackle that's coming up, just know that you're likely going to be sitting behind Jayden Jackson for 2025, 2026. And if he decides to stay for his senior season, 2027. So you're looking pretty far out there right now. If you're a nose tackle looking to play significant snaps or even start for the Oklahoma Sooners, that seems to be pretty well locked down for the foreseeable future. So there's a whole lot of reasons why a guy like Floyd Boucard could decide to explore other options. He does have a really nice offer sheet. I mean, Alabama's on it, Georgia, Florida, Florida State, Miami, Penn State,
all the big schools,
Missouri, Ole Miss. Like he's got a really, really nice offer sheet. Who knows exactly where it's all going to end up? It's going to be a really fascinating recruitment to continue to watch, but it's not going to be Oklahoma at this point. I'm fairly certain. So we'll see if they decide to go another direction. The defensive line still looks really, really nice with Kamari Moore, with Trent Wilson, Alexander Shieldnight, and CJ Nixon. I think you've still got a really, really nice foursome there with that group. But yeah, and again, it's still a really, really nice recruiting class despite the loss of Boucard moving forward. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. We are just like under 50 subscribers from 8,000. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And thank you to all of you who make Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. For your second listen, go check out the Locked On College Football podcast. From NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors, Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. Find Locked On College Football on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports, myself at John 9 Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all the social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. Boomer.
Sooner.